it's Dion here. I just felt like making a video today. First of all, I have off of work today, and I just had some stuff on my mind that I wanted to talk about. It's not necessarily related to addiction per se, but just want to talk about something that I've been struggling with. The job that I have, I'm just working a 7-Eleven job right now because I'm trying to get my certification in recovery peer support so I can work in the recovery field, helping newcoming recovering addicts who have the desire to stop using, to help them with any struggles they're having in the early stages of recovery. That is where my heart is. That is what I want to be doing with my life. But I'm in a bit of a standstill right now because I have to find a place to do my internship. I have to do 500 hours of on-the-job training before I can actually become certified. It's a process that I'm struggling to deal with, but I'll get there eventually. I mean, it's just a process that I have to deal with right now. I want to talk about something that happened to me yesterday that was really overwhelming. I usually don't work on Sundays, but somebody either quit or transferred stores. I'm not sure what happened. I mean, I don't know if they're telling me the truth when they say she transferred stores. She may very well have quit because last time I talked to this particular coworker, she was saying she put in an application for a different job. She may very well have gotten a different job and quit. And they're just telling me she transferred stores because they don't want to tell me she quit. I really don't know. But regardless of what the situation is, she's not there anymore, and I'm having to work days that I'm not usually scheduled to work. So I worked yesterday from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. and everything was going along fine. It was kind of busy, but I was handling it okay. I was working with me and this guy were working together, and then he went outside to take out the garbage outside. It's a gas station, and they have garbage receptacles by each gas station, by each gas where you get the gas. There's a garbage receptacle. So he was outside emptying all the garbages by the gas tanks, and I was inside covering everything inside by myself. Well, these online orders started coming in like one after another, and the one order that came in, they wanted something and I couldn't find the item, and I couldn't turn to my coworker to help me because a lot of times when I can't find something, there's always somebody I can turn to help me find the product or tell me what to do in a situation if we don't have the product. Well, I couldn't turn to him, and it was cooked food. This is the thing that gets me about this place, is there's so much more work that's involved in working at this particular place than there is at working at most other convenience stores. I've worked at multiple convenience stores in my life, and it's not my favorite place to work because the pay really sucks. But I think I mentioned in earlier videos that I made that because of my background, and I don't have an extensive, terrible background. I have some misdemeanors in my background. Because of this, the jobs that I got hired at initially, I got my security license to do security jobs here in Las Vegas. And every time I got hired to work at the MGM, to work at the Excalibur, the MGM, doing security. Really good paying job. It was a great opportunity. I was hired on the spot. As soon as they ran my background, I got an email that I was disqualified from the job because of my background, which kind of shocked me because I don't have a bad background. I don't have any felonies. It's just misdemeanors, and they're all from a long time ago. They're all from like almost 15 years ago or longer. Some of them go back as far as 20-something years ago. I never dreamt that these stupid misdemeanors that are from a long time ago would trip me up and prevent me from getting a job. Well, I was out of work for 5 months, and I was forced to take another convenience store job, because I needed to bring in money again. I have to pay rent, I have to pay bills, and I don't have a lot of bills, but I have to pay rent, I have to pay my phone bill, and I have to pay for my own personal needs that I have, food and stuff like that. And so I was forced to take this job against my better judgment. I did not want to take another low paying job. I was looking for a better paying job. I didn't get clean and get off drugs and turn my life around to be stuck in a dead end job. That's why I took this training course to be a recovery peer support specialist, because I'd be doing something meaningful with my life, making a decent income, the whole 9 yards. It would be a one size fits all type of situation where I'm making good money and doing something really meaningful with my life at the same time. What better way to make money than to be doing something rewarding that helps other people? It's a win-win job in every which way you can speak of. For me, it is. I can't speak for other people, but for me, it's a good fit. But I'm in the midst of working on that. It's a process, and I'm working on it, but I'm not there yet. I'm not at a place where I can just work in that field. I still have some work to do to get to be at that point. But I'm working at this job, and to get back to my story, so I'm working on the inside, and I got tripped up on a particular order because they wanted 2 orders of this cooked chicken. One was roasted chicken, one was buffalo style chicken. And we had the buffalo, but I couldn't find the roasted. I wasn't even sure what it really looked like, and I couldn't see it anywhere in the refrigerator. I looked in multiple places. I couldn't find it. So I got kind of tripped up on this particular order, and then other orders are coming in one by one. Then people are piling into the store, all these customers, and I start feeling overwhelmed. Okay, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I have severe anxiety disorder. Okay, it doesn't take a whole lot to get me ramped up and really anxious and overwhelmed. So I started feeling overwhelmed, really anxious. So these orders are piling up. I'm tripped up on the first order that I can't complete because we don't have the chicken, and I don't know what to do, because they don't like to leave an item out of the order. They like to either replace it. I didn't know what to do at the time. So the lady who was going to pick the order up to deliver it to the person that ordered it is standing there waiting for me to give her the order. And I told her, I said, we're missing an item. So I cooked the buffalo chicken, and I got the order together, and I gave it to her. And I said, we don't have the roasted chicken. I said, we don't have it. I said, and I didn't know what to give her in place of it, because I personally, I order my groceries from Walmart. I always have stipulate in my order, if you don't have an item that I ordered, don't replace it with another item, unless I picked out a particular item that's okay to replace it with. But I usually like them to just not give me anything at all before you give me something that I really don't want. So knowing that that's how I feel, that I wouldn't want to get something that I really didn't want in place of something that I did want that they didn't have, I opted to leave that empty and not give that item. So the lady who was picking it up, she goes, you should have given them 2 orders of the buffalo. I said, if you want to wait, I'll make them and we can give them to her. I didn't know what to do in the situation. And all these orders are coming in. My coworker is outside, seemed like he was taking a sweet-ass time to take out the garbage. He took multiple breaks yesterday, left me in the store, and things got overwhelmed every time he would go out there. And, he took a lot of breaks, much more than I thought he should have. And so I got really overwhelmed. And when I get really bad anxiety, if it gets to a certain point, it causes me to get physically ill. It manifests in a way where nausea starts, my stomach starts turning, and the nausea starts, then it's vomiting. Then it's nonstop vomiting. And so I called my manager. I worked from 2 to 10. It was about 7:30 or so that this initially started happening, at about 8, I told my coworker, I'm gonna take a 30-minute lunch because I didn't take a lunch yet. My son was gonna come and visit me at work, and I was gonna take a lunch when he came, but I texted him and told him not to come because the night was not going well for me, and I just didn't want him to come because I wasn't up for seeing him when I was in such a awful type of mood and I was so anxious. I wasn't in the right frame of mind to visit my son and have an enjoyable visit with him. So I told him, don't come. It's not a good night. So I took a lunch break and I was not feeling any better. I carry with me medication for nausea. I always carry it with me to work just in case. And I also always carry my anxiety medication. I took my anxiety medication. I took the nausea medication. But I was already nauseated. If I take the medication and I'm already beginning to be nauseated, it doesn't help. I have to take it as a preventatory type of thing. Because once I'm already feeling nauseated, it's just too late. It's too late for me. The nausea has already set in. And usually, when the nausea sets in, it's only a matter of time before vomiting starts to happen. So I'm in the bathroom vomiting my guts out. At about almost 8:30, I called my manager and I said to her, I am really sick. I said what happened was the store got super busy. All these online orders kept coming in back to back. The guy I was working with, I said, Jason went outside, was taking care of some stuff outside, like the garbage. I said, and I was alone in the store. I said, and I was fine with that initially because I thought everything would be fine. I said, but I got really overwhelmed because all these orders kept coming in. The store started piling up with customers. I said, I couldn't function. I just felt so overwhelmed because it got so busy so quick. I don't get overwhelmed by customers. If it was just customers in the store, I can handle that. I've worked at places where I've had long lines of people and I manage. It's fine. I just take care of one customer at a time. I know how to do a transaction in a relatively quick and efficient manner. So that wouldn't have been a problem. The problem was these stupid online orders. There's so much more that they expect of you at this place. You know, you're expected to greet the customers when they come in, handle the transactions, and then do all these freaking online orders. And they give you only a couple of minutes to do the online order, because if you don't do it in the time that they allot for you to do it, then the store loses points. Personally, I don't give a shit if they lose points, because if I'm busy doing something, if I can't get to that online order because I've got a line of people in front of me, I have to take care of them first. They come first. The online order will have to wait. So, and it beeps. It's a constant beeping sound letting you know there's an online order coming through. So I must have had 4 or 5 online orders that kept coming through back to back. I mean, I would just start one order and it was already beeping that another order was coming through. I was freaking losing my mind. And the anxiety was overwhelming. And by 8:30, I only had an hour and a half left of work to do. But an hour and a half can seem like a lifetime when you are really sick. I was so nauseated and so sick to my stomach. She forced me to stay. She told me, you don't have a reason to, you don't have any medical documents to talk about your anxiety issues, so you're not covered, you have to stay. Do your shift and go home at 10. This fucking bitch. I thought, you fucking cunt. I'm sick as a dog right now. Oh, I don't care what caused me to be sick. If it's anxiety or not, I'm sick right now. The one day, she had nausea and vomiting and diarrhea and all kinds of shit. She went home early, okay? Okay, nobody stopped her from going home early because she was sick. I shouldn't have even said that it was triggered by anxiety, but I was trying to be honest with her. It was triggered by anxiety. My nausea and vomiting is always triggered 9 times out of 10 by anxiety. It causes me to be super sick. That's why I'm on anxiety medication. I try only to take it when I need it, but sometimes if I take it after I'm already in a panic mode, it's not enough to prevent me from being full-blown sick. So it was an awful night. I went home absolutely in tears because, it was bad enough that I was sick, but I was so sick I couldn't deal with customers anymore. But I was forced to sit in front of a fucking register yesterday from 8:30 to 10 and take care of customers when I was sick as a dog. In between customers, I was vomiting in the garbage behind me. That is not how you should be doing things. If you're too sick and you're vomiting in front of the customers, you shouldn't be there. But for her to force me to stay there, even though I was sick as a dog, was so unfair. I mean, I was so freaking sick. I don't take having a job lightly. I always show up for my job. I show up early. I'm always like an hour early. I feel being prompt on time for a job is really important. I stay and I do my job to the best of my ability. Okay, this is my least favorite job that I've ever had in my entire life. I hate this job with a passion. I cannot wait to be done with this job. I'm not making enough money, and for everything that I'm expected to do there, it's awful. It's awful to pay. The pay is awful for everything they expect you to do. And when I see coworkers there busting their asses, doing shit that they're not even required to do, it's laughable to me because I'm thinking, you're making a fool of yourself. You're not being paid to do all this extra work. You're barely getting paid to do what you're expected to do. I mean, everything they expect you to do, they should pay a lot better when you're doing so much more than the average convenience store does. There's a Green Valley grocery or a Shell across the street. I've worked there before. I worked there for a little over a year, and I was suspended from there because I wasn't diagnosed with my narcolepsy yet, and I fell asleep on the job. What happened to me was really wrong. What happened, the day people that work the day shift, I was working the swing shift, and they convinced this girl that worked on, she was a new employee. They convinced her, they knew that I didn't like to sit down for my breaks because I have a tendency of falling asleep. They told her to get me to sit down and to take pictures of me once I fell asleep, because I told them if I sit down, I fall asleep. So she took pictures of me while I was sleeping, sent them to Human Resources with the quotation under the pictures that said, "This is what your employees are doing when you're not looking." I got suspended. I knew they were going to fire me, so I quit before they could fire me because I didn't want it on my record that I got fired from a job. So I quit. But I didn't have another job yet. It took me a month to find a job, which was relatively quick compared to the last time I was out of work. I was out of work for 5 freaking months. It was awful. This is why I'm so desperate to hold on to this job right now. Because, and I'm worried now. I'm worried because, okay, when I was working yesterday, they sell these Slurpees or slushies or whatever, and most of them were out of order, okay? And there were signs that were clearly labeled on each one, on the handle of the machine where you would pull the handle to dispense the product into a cup. There was paper signs that said out of order, temporarily out of order. Well, these kids were in the store. Other people did it too, but specifically I remember these kids kept testing them to see if they worked, even though it said don't touch them. They're temporarily out of order. And it was causing, in the office, for the machinery that connects, where the juice is connecting to the machinery, the boxer juice that is dispensed to the actual machine that dispenses the product, it was making this loud blaring noise because of these kids using the ones that were out of order. And it wasn't just making noise, it was expelling CO2 in the air. CO2 is, I don't know if that's just carbon monoxide or it's carbon dioxide, but it was expelling something in the air that is quite dangerous to be exposed to after a prolonged period of time. So we had to open up the doors in the store and everything because it's not safe to be breathing in this stuff. It can be really harmful to you. You could actually pass out from it. if you're being exposed to it for a prolonged period of time. So after I told the kids, I said, guys, please don't keep touching the ones that are clearly marked temporarily out of order. So I said to myself, and they were like 50 feet away from me, okay? And I said to myself, I said, these dumb little shits or dumb asses or something. I said, dumb asses. I said, they're such dumb asses. And I said that to myself because they were being dumb. You know, it was clearly marked don't touch, but they were fucking with the shit anyway, and it was causing the machinery in the office to be making enormous noises, alerting us about the fact that somebody was touching the out of order ones. So the mother of the kids was a few feet, was across the counter, standing behind the customer that I was in the middle of taking care of. She goes, excuse me, are you talking about my kids? I said, I wasn't talking to anyone directly. I said, I was talking to myself. She said, you're talking about my kids. And she got all offended by it. And I thought, because all I need is for her to come and say to the manager that I call her kids a name or something. They will fire me for it. They are looking to fire me. You have no idea. You know, they wrote me up in a matter of 1 week, less than a week, 3 times for not greeting customers, okay? I was greeting the customers, but when I am in the middle of doing a transaction, I'm focused on the transaction. So, I don't know why it is, but my brain, when I'm focused on one thing, everything around me is like everything outside of what I'm doing at that moment. I block out everything. I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. I only see and hear what I'm doing right in front of me at that moment. So people coming in and out of the store, I don't hear them. I don't see them. I don't even know people are coming in and out of the store until I'm done with the transaction and I look around and, oh, there's a bunch of people in the store. I didn't even know they came in. And she kept writing me up for it. And then the district manager came in, and because I didn't greet her when she came in, she made a big deal about it. I said, I didn't know you came in. I said, I was busy doing something at the time when you came in. I said, and I don't have the ability to greet people at the same time when I'm focused on doing something else at that time. And I can't. And one of the reasons, the main reason why I can't, is because I'm taking a medication called Adderall. Okay, it's a medication to help keep me awake and alert during the hours that I'm working. That's why I lost the job at the Green Valley Grocery, because I wasn't diagnosed with the narcolepsy yet, and I was falling asleep crazy. It was ridiculous. I mean, I shouldn't say I was falling asleep crazy. I was exhausted all the time, and I would nod off for a second, but I would catch myself because I was on my feet. I only technically fell asleep the one time, and she let me sleep an hour. She was supposed to, she told me to sit down, and I said, if I sit down, I'll fall asleep. She goes, it's okay. I'll wake you in 10 minutes when your break's up. I trusted her. I didn't know her that well, but I had no reason not to trust her. I thought she'd wake me up. Well, she let me sleep an hour. And she took pictures and video of me sleeping. And, like I said, she sent them to Human Resources. And that's why I got suspended. And I knew they were going to fire me for it. Even though I told them, I said, what if I was to bring you medical documentation proving that my falling asleep was due to a medical condition? Because I knew something was wrong with me. I knew something was wrong with me because it was to the point that I would wake up in the morning exhausted. I would literally open my eyes and I felt exhausted like I just did a hard day's work. I mean, I was always tired. I couldn't stay awake to save my life. It was awful. And if I didn't have this medication, I wouldn't be able to hold a job. It'd be impossible. Because even with the medication in place, when I sit down to take a break, a lot of times, I nod off. I fall asleep. And what wakes me is I usually have my phone in my hand. the phone will hit the ground, and the noise will startle me and jolt me to being awake again. And then like, oh, you would think that the medication, because I'm on the highest dose twice a day, you'd think that would be enough to keep me up. And I still fall asleep. I still fall asleep. I have days where, even with the medication, I am still feeling groggy and tired. It's awful. I mean, somebody said I should try to get disability. But the truth of the matter is, I wouldn't get nearly as much money getting disability as I make having an actual job. Okay, I wouldn't be able to support myself the same way. And I like being able to provide for myself. It's something that I could never do before when I was in my addiction. So being able to provide for myself is a very big deal to me. I like being independent. I like knowing I can support myself and I don't have to depend on anybody for anything. I like that feeling. Okay? I wouldn't want to lose that feeling for anything. And I would have to move out of where I live, because the guy that I rent from, he and I were roommates, and I was talking to him this morning. He was telling me about getting SSI, and I said, well, I wouldn't get that much money. I said, and even if I got $1,000, it would just go to you, and I wouldn't have any money to live on. He said, well, you wouldn't be able to live here anymore. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I don't want to live here anymore. I like living here. I'm like, I'm very happy here. I don't want to move. So if it means that I don't get disability and I hold a job, then that's what I'll do. Because I like living where I'm living. It's important to me to feel safe and secure in the place I'm living. And I feel that right now. I'm safe and secure, and I like where I'm living. And I don't want to move for nothing. Okay? I'm very comfortable where I'm living. And this job is just killing me. First of all, it's too much for me physically. Okay, my last job, I was a lot more physically able to move around and do things more easily than I can now. I am maybe close to 50 pounds heavier now than I was when I was at my last job. And my last job ended last June. A year ago. It was a year ago. It was right around a year ago. Actually, it was almost a year ago to the day. And I put on right around 50 pounds when I was out of work for those 5 months. And even though I tell everybody I don't really eat that much, for the most part, I don't eat that much. But I did put on that weight because I was laying in bed most of the time in between going to interviews and stuff. And I was eating the wrong thing. I was eating rice puddings and stuff. And I was eating a lot of them. So, yeah, I was probably overeating a bit. Yeah, I was depressed. I was super depressed. I mean, I was in a real dark place in my life during those 5 months. Because every job that I would get hired at, as soon as they ran my background, I was disqualified from the job. I was so discouraged. I was stuck in a situation where I was forced to take a job that I did not want to take. I did not want to work at this 7-Eleven. I do not want to work here. I hate it. I hate working here. I almost want to cry right now because I hate this job. I freaking hate this job so much. It's more than I can bear physically. I don't know how anybody could handle this. It's a lot. It's a lot. But I can't quit it. But I'm stressing because I'm worried about when I go to work on Wednesday if they're gonna fire me because I had such a bad night out yesterday because my anxiety got the best of me and I got physically ill, and then I'm worried about this lady reporting me or complaining to the manager that I said dumbass, and she took it personal. I mean, she doesn't know that I was specifically talking about her kids. I could have been talking about anything. Okay, she's not a mind reader. She didn't know what I was talking about, but she'll complain about me. And this manager, they're looking to fire me for any reason. Okay, they are just looking for a reason. For her to write me up 3 times in a matter of less than 1 week for some bullshit. When I explained to her, I said it's a side effect from my medication. I can't. When I focus in on when I'm doing something, it makes me hyper focus on that one task, and to the point that I exclude everything else around me. I don't even hear or see anything else around me in that moment that I'm doing whatever it is that I'm doing. I can't help that. Okay? But I'm just hella stressed out. I'm just so freaking stressed out right now because I can't afford to lose this job. Even though I hate it, I dread every freaking day having to go to this job. I dread it. I dread it. I hate this job. I mean, it's so physically demanding. My right foot, there's something wrong with my right foot. I'm on my feet all day. My last job, I was able to sit a good portion of the day, especially when it was slow. I could sit. I had a chair in the back. I even bought cushions for the chair so it was comfortable to sit in. And I brought a note from my doctor that for me to sit. I brought a note from my doctor for this job. And instead of being able to get more breaks to be able to sit down, what she wanted to do was take away my 2 10-minute breaks and my 30-minute break and just let me sit 5 minutes an hour. What is that? 5 minutes? 5 minutes is not really restorative. It's not really enough for me to get enough of a break that I would actually feel better when I stood up. Okay, 30 minutes. When I stand back up after sitting down for 30 minutes, I feel like I've rested. Even if I sat down 15 minutes, that would feel rested. But anything less than like 15 minutes is not enough of a break to really feel like you feel better from it. So I got this paperwork from my doctor and everything. It was pointless for me to even get it because she told me I was going to get additional breaks to sit down and stuff. And what she did was she was going to take away all the breaks that I already got and just give me 5 minutes an hour. That was bullshit. Why did I fill out all this paperwork? Why did I make a special doctor appointment and go through all this trouble for nothing? It was for nothing. It was stupid. This job is just a joke, man. And all that they expect you to do for minimum wage. I'm getting paid $1 more than minimum wage. $13 an hour. I'm just being honest. $13 an hour, that's all I freaking get. It's a freaking joke. It's a freaking joke. I mean, I can't survive on that. I'm not even able to pay my full rent because of this. I'm giving him like $600 a month at the most, because I'm supposed to pay $1,000 a month, but I can't pay it. I can't pay. I don't have it. If I was to give him that much money, I would have no money to buy food, to pay for my transportation and stuff. And but I was working at a location that was a lot closer to my house initially, and I was able to take the bus to and from, no problem. But now, because I'm so much further away, because that store closed and I'm in a much further location, it's so hot here in the summer that it's 1 in the morning when I'm going to work, I have no problem busing it. But in the afternoon when I get off, it's freaking dead heat. Dead freaking heat. It's so freaking hot. And I'm also dealing with the fact that my foot is freaking killing me. And all the extra walking I have to do, getting to bus stops and stuff, I just can't even conceive of doing that. And it's not that I'm just a spoiled bitch and I don't want to take the bus. I don't have a problem taking the bus. It's fine. But it's so much further away than the other location. And I can't stand being in the heat for extended periods of time. And having to take 2 buses to get home would be agonizing in the heat. And then on top of it, my foot killing me. But I have an appointment on 30th this month they're going to provide me with transportation for medical appointments, and any appointment that's not non-medical, I would pay $3 each way, and that would be really easy to do. That would be very affordable. Be much more affordable than what I'm paying now. When I go home, it costs anywhere between $10 to $15 to get home, somewhere in that range. Lately, it's been around between $10 and $12. I'm so grateful it hasn't been like $15 or $16 like it was a couple weeks ago. But I take, and then when she has me working Saturday and Sunday from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., I have to take an Uber to work because it's too freaking hot for me to take the bus. I can't handle the heat. It makes me physically ill. It makes me nauseated. It makes me sick. So if I was to take the bus to work in that heat, by the time I got there, I wouldn't feel good. And once I tend to get nauseated very easily. And once I'm nauseated, it triggers vomiting, and I'm sick for hours, not minutes, or I'm sick for hours. Yesterday when I got sick, when I was nauseated and I had the vomiting, I was sick for at least 4 to 5 hours. Okay, when I came home, I just passed out. I was so sick. But if I was to take a bus to work, it would be awful, because by the time I would get to work, I would be so overwhelmed from the heat, and the heat causes me to feel unwell. Like, it causes me to get nauseated, and I don't know that I would necessarily be vomiting, but I wouldn't feel well. And that's not the way I want to start out my shift, is already feeling like shit. So I take an Uber. And the reason, and it's more expensive when I have to work these days where I have to work 2 to 10, because I will not take a bus home from work at 10 o'clock at night. Because at my last job that I had, I was taking a bus home from work to save money. And on the way home, I had a guy push me in, and it was a dark area that I was walking in, and he pushed me in a corner. He robbed me. He put a knife to my throat. He scared the shit out of me. Luckily, all he did was rob me and let me go. But I am scared to death of taking a bus home at night and taking a chance, because it's a long walk from the bus stop to my house. It's a long, winding walk, and it's in the dark, and it's not well lit, and anybody can grab me and do anything they want to me. It's a dark area where anybody could do anything to me, and I would be absolutely defenseless in a situation like that. I wouldn't have any way to defend myself if somebody took me and did something to me. So I will not take a bus home at night for safety reasons. So it's costing me a lot more money, and I can't afford this. My last job, I could easily afford to take Ubers wherever, because I was making over $1,000 a week. I was making good money. It wasn't that I made a lot of money per hour, but I was working overtime. They allowed me to work as much overtime as I wanted, so I was working crazy overtime. But it was okay, because it was a much easier job. I came in, I did my physical end of the job. I cleaned up, I did everything, got my shift ready, and I would get up, every once in a while, walk the store, make sure everything was neat and tidy. I did a good job there. I'm not saying I didn't do a good job. I did a good job, but it was much more easier to deal with. And then in between, checking in to make sure the store was kept up and stuff, and taking care of customers and stuff throughout my shift, I had a seat in the corner behind the register, and I would sit and watch movies and watch whatever and just relax and chill out. And my manager had no problem with that, because she saw I did a good job. She saw that I did my job and I did it well. And so she said she had no problem with me sitting down, and it was mostly in the evening after 6 or 7 that I would sit back and relax a little bit more, because during the day it was busier with customers, like from 3 to 6, busier with customers, but it was a much easier job, and I was in a lot better physical shape than I am now. I didn't weigh as much. It was easier for me to move around and do things. Now, I kind of try to stay stationary and stay in one place in the store, because moving around is painful for me. Not only painful because of my back, but my right foot, there's something wrong with it. When I told my doctor about it, she mentioned the fact that it could possibly be microscopic stress fractures. They could be just little tiny hairline fractures in the outer part of my right foot. They could be causing me pain, and they're really painful, but the only way to heal them is to stay off your feet completely for the most part, except going to the bathroom or something, for like 6 to 8 weeks. Well, how can they do that? How can I stay off my feet? I can't do that at this job. It's impossible. I mean, it'd be virtually impossible. I'm overwhelmed, man. I'm just overwhelmed, and I have so much anxiety. I mean, I'm scared shitless to go to work on Wednesday because I'm thinking I'm gonna get the boot. You know, they're gonna fire me for because I didn't handle yesterday very well. I didn't do it on purpose. You know, my coworker left me alone for a while, and it got so freaking overwhelmingly busy, I couldn't handle it. Okay, and they're gonna say you can't handle this job. You know, you can't work here anymore, and it's like 99% of the time, I can handle it for the most part. I'm in pain. It's a lot more than I want to be dealing with, but I do my best to deal with it the best way I can. But I'm just overwhelmed right now. I'm overwhelmed with worry, anxiety. You know, I don't want to lose this job before I have another job in its place ready to go. I can't be out of work again. I can't be in that situation again. That was awful. I'm so afraid that I'll lose my place to live and stuff, and I really love where I'm living. And I don't want to be thrown out of where I'm living, because if I lost my job again, I don't know how patient he'd be with me to get another job. So I can't be out of work again. And these people, they don't care. They don't care if they put you in a situation where you're going to be homeless and stuff. I would just have to commit suicide because I will not be homeless. I will not. I mean, I'm just being honest. If it came to a situation where I was going to be homeless, I would off myself. I would overdose on my anxiety medication and just call it a day, because I will not be homeless. I cannot deal with this. I'm so stressed out. I just needed to vent my feelings today. I don't expect anyone to have any answers to my problems or major advice to help me out of my situation. I don't have any expectations for anything. I just needed to vent and express myself and just lay it on the line and just say the way I'm feeling. I just can't deal anymore. I didn't want this job from the get-go, and this job has been a freaking nightmare from the whole start. I mean, when I started the job, the initial manager that I worked for, because this is my third store that I've been at. It's just ridiculous. I mean, I hate this. I hate this job. I hate these managers. They're such assholes. The last store I worked at, the managers were really nice. And I actually sent a text message to the district manager and said I wanted to switch and work at another store, because I could work with the manager that I had at the other store. She was really nice, easy to get along with, and before she would write you up about something, she would talk to you about it. She wouldn't just write you up. I never got a write-up when I worked at that store, never. Everyone was so easy to get along with. It was a good situation. I didn't mind working there so much. It still wasn't my favorite job, but it was so much easier to deal with than this. These people have expectations that are just so above and beyond, my means. I'm doing the best I can. That's all I can do. And that's what I told my manager. I said, I don't know what you're expecting from me, but I'm giving it my all, and I'm giving 100% of my efforts to do the best I can. I said, I don't know what more you can expect from me. I said, I can only do what I can do. And, when I was telling her that, she said I was doing better on the greeting customers, and she goes, but you can do better. I'm like, no, I really can't. I'm greeting everyone that I can greet, but when I'm in the middle of doing a transaction, I can't do it. She's like, yeah, you can. I'm like, no, I can't. It's a side effect from my medication, okay? I can't do it. But she's trying to insist that I can. The bitch is fucking crazy. I mean, people don't understand. I mean, I hate this. In a lot of ways, losing this job would be an answer to my prayers to some degree, But on the other hand, it would be a freaking nightmare because I'd be stuck in a situation with no job again. And it took me forever to get a job before. Because every job that I tried to get, I was disqualified from because of the fucking background. And this kills me because I don't have a really bad background. I have multiple charges. I have probably 10 to 12 charges, but they're all misdemeanor. They're all stupid charges, and they all took place when I was in my addiction. Ever since I've been clean, I have never had a single interaction with law enforcement that hasn't been a positive one. I haven't had a single charge or ticket or anything. I've been on the up and up with my life. I don't break the law. I don't do anything. The only thing I can maybe be guilty of is occasionally jaywalking, and I'm even very cautious about that. When I go to my clinic every other week, well, I don't take the bus anymore, but when I was taking the bus, it was just easier to cross in the middle to go to my clinic than backtrack and go all the way back to where the light was. So that was what I used to do. And I even worried doing that because, I didn't even want to get a ticket for jaywalking. Guys, I'm just overwhelmed. I don't know what to do at this point. I'm so scared I'm going to lose this job. And as much as I hate this job, I have to keep this job right now because it's the only thing that's at least kind of supporting me. Not 100%, but it's kind of supporting me. I'm able to pay at least more than half of my rent, and I'm able to buy food for myself and buy my own needs and stuff, and I'm able to take care of what I need to take care of. I'm just so stressed out. I don't want to lose this job before I have another job opportunity ready to go. I don't need to be out of work. And I'm so scared. These people screwing me over. So overwhelming. I'm doing the very best I can. I can't do any better. This is so unfair. It's not a fair world that we live in, when you have things wrong with you, I didn't ask to have all these problems, okay? I have them though. I have problems. I have a lot of issues. I have a lot of problems. And, I get it. I'm not the easiest person to deal with in some respects because I do have a lot of issues. But, as long as I'm working in an environment where it's not overwhelmingly stressful. If they didn't have this stupid online thing with these stupid online orders coming through all the time, that's really a lot more demanding, okay? And when you're by yourself in the store and you're expected to do all these online orders and then take care of customers in the store as well, it's a lot to take on. I mean, I don't know how anybody can handle it, but I can't. Okay, maybe I'm just a fucking complete loser and I can't do it. Maybe everyone else can, but I can't do it. It's a lot. It's a lot for me to handle. Order after order kept coming in, and I hadn't even finished the first order because I was stuck on the first order because we didn't have everything that the order was requiring, and I didn't know what to do. I normally like to talk to my coworker and get their advice on the best way to handle that situation. But he was outside and I couldn't talk to him about it, and I didn't want to go bother him because he kind of came across to me as a person who really didn't talk to or bothered with. So I tried to stay out of his face for the most part and not irritate him or bother him because he seemed like he just because when we first got to work, I was trying to make lighthearted conversation with him and try to talk to him and stuff and get a feel for what kind of person he was and what kind of shift I was going to have with him as far as what the work environment was going to be like working with this person because I'd never worked with him before. And I was talking to him about a few different things and he wasn't really responding. He wasn't really saying anything back, and I got the impression that he really didn't want to talk to me. He really didn't give a shit about anything I had to say, and that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to give a shit about what I have to say. It's not like a requirement that you have to care about what I'm saying, but I got the impression that he really didn't want to talk to me about anything. He just wanted to do the job, and that's it. So I tried to keep any kind of conversation I had with them strictly about the job function and something related to the job. And I tried to stick to that method. And I didn't want to go outside and bother him about the fact that I was stumped on this one order because I didn't have what the order wanted in it, and the orders kept coming in, and so it was awful. It was just an awful situation, and I'm worried about that lady that thinks I was talking shit about her kids, and I did make a comment to myself like dumb shits or something. I said like dumb shits, fucking dumb shits. I said very quietly to myself. She must have X-ray fucking hearing that she fucking heard me whisper. I whispered it to myself. I'm really surprised she freaking heard me because I said it quietly to myself. I didn't think anybody could even hear me. And I said it because we were having problems with the machines in the office making these loud noises, alerting us that something was going on with either the fountain drinks or the Slurpee machine, and it's a loud, obnoxious noise. Okay, and it's really obnoxious, and I'm one of these people that noises like that can get to me. It can cause me a lot of anxiety. So I had to shut the door to the office to quiet the noise down because I wouldn't be able to function in a situation like that. I can't work in an environment where there's a loud blaring noise in the background irritating me because it keeps me from focusing on what I need to focus on. You know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a very unique individual and I have issues that other people don't have. But these kids came in and we just got everything settled down with this machinery, and it was finally quiet and everything was nice and peaceful. And these kids came and fucked with the shit, and it was fucking making all kinds of crazy noise again, like bam, 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 like over and over again, like crazy. And I was like, oh shit. So I told them, I said, guys, please don't touch the stuff that's marked temporarily out of order. I said it's marked that way that it's marked temporarily out of order for a reason, because it's not meant to be touched. I said if you touch it, it screws up everything in this office for us. I said and makes this loud noise and expels a poisonous chemical that is not good for us to be exposed to for a prolonged period of time. And I said to myself, these fucking dumb shits. I said that to myself, but I said it rather quietly. So, and I know they didn't hear me. I know these kids did not hear what I said. I made a comment to myself. You know, I'm a human, okay? They were doing stupid shit and I made a comment. They were doing stupid shit. Them touching the machinery caused chaos with the machinery in the back. And I had to go there and release all the air out of all these machines to try to get it to quiet down. It's not an easy process. It was a real pain in the ass. And these kids screwed everything up when everything we just finally got quieted down. So yeah, I was a little upset about it, okay? I was a little irritated with the fact that they were purposely testing out the slushies that were marked quite plain and clearly that they were out of order temporarily. And it was like, if you see that it says out of order, it's right on the handle. You have to actually touch the sign to push the handle down to expel the product into a cup. So you don't tell me you didn't see it, because if you were to put your hand on the handle, you'd feel the paper sign in your hand as you were doing it. So there's no getting around that they saw the sign. I mean, it was just so ridiculous. And this mother says, I was talking shit about her kids, and she's going to report me. For what? For her kids misbehaving? For them doing shit they shouldn't have been doing and causing me a lot of extra work? I just can't deal with this anymore. I just want to work at the jobs that I did the course for. I just want to work in that job because I know I can handle that. It's a better job. It's a better fit for me. I mean, I know addiction. I lived in addiction for like 14 years. I know addiction. I know what it's like to be an addict. And I know I could help somebody else who has a desire to stop using. I know I could be a sound voice of reason for somebody who's struggling, trying to get into recovery, and has that desire, but maybe is facing an uphill battle or some hurdles along the way, I could definitely share with them what worked for me and how I was able to get into sobriety and to get into recovery and turn my life around, and give them some sound advice on what their options are and what the, obviously it's up to them what they choose to do, but it's nice to talk to somebody who's been down that road, who knows how it feels to be on that side of the spectrum, and who could tell them, how I got to get into recovery, long-term recovery, how it worked for me, what I did, and how I was able to find a method of getting clean that was feasible, that actually worked for me successfully, and allowed me to maintain sobriety for close to 13 years now. Sometimes you need to hear that. You need to hear from somebody who's been in your shoes and has made it to the other side of the road, and they can tell you, hey, this is what I did. This may not work for you, but let me at least tell you what I did and what the options are, so at least that it's not a one-size-fit-all for when it comes to recovery. There are many different paths to recovery. It's not always 12-step recovery, NAAA, that doesn't work for everyone, especially for opiates. It doesn't work for the most part, okay? It's a very rare individual that can get the 12-step program to work for them when it comes to dealing with an opiate addiction. It's a very difficult road. A lot of people don't know how methadone, and I don't know exactly how Suboxone works in the system, as I've never used it, okay? I've never had desire to use it, because when I got on methadone, that worked for me. That was the trick. That was the key. That was the answer to my prayers. It worked so successfully for me in my life, and continues to work successfully in my life, that I have no desire to switch things up and change to another medication just for the sake of trying something else. I don't have the desire to do that. No. Okay? And even if I did, which I don't, you have to actually get off methadone for a period of time and have the methadone out of your system to a certain degree before you can even get started on Suboxone. I am not enthused about that idea. Okay? No thank you. Okay? You have to be in a certain amount of withdrawal before you can get on Suboxone. That is the downside of Suboxone, in my opinion. When you have to go through a certain amount of withdrawal before you're even eligible to get on the medication. That is a real downer. That's a con. When you talk about pros and cons, that's a big ex-con, and in my book, as far as getting on that medication. And that medication does not work for everyone. If you have a really bad heroin habit or opiate addiction, and it's really severe, maybe you've been using for a really extensive period of time, large amounts, Suboxone doesn't work for everyone, especially if we're using for a long period of time, and you've been using large amounts. So you need something more potent to kick your system into functioning again. And methadone would be the answer to your prayers in a situation like that, okay? Because it is more equipped to handle people that have a more extensive background with opiates or heroin, and they've been using maybe larger amounts for a long period of time. That's what I would say is a better choice of a medication if you've been using for long periods of time, and you've been using large amounts. That would be what I would think would be a better option. To have to go through the process of being in withdrawal for a certain amount of time and being miserable and agonizing agony. Because I watched a video about a guy who was switching from methadone to Suboxone. He preferred Suboxone, okay? That was his preference, but when I saw what he had to go through in order to get on Suboxone, he had a couple years clean at that period of time. And it was so awful for him trying to get off the methadone, okay, and before he could get on Suboxone, that he ended up using heroin. He ended up using heroin because he couldn't handle the withdrawals, you know. Yes, there are withdrawals when you get off methadone, but that's why you don't just get off all at once. You detox yourself off slowly over a period of time. If you're going to get off methadone, plan on going through a process of weaning off for a year to a year and a half, give or take. Okay, plan on the process. So I mean, in my opinion, methadone is for long-term use, for several years. And if you, let's say, for instance, you really can't predict how long you're going to be on it. You can't get on and say, well, I'm going to stay on for 2 years, end of story. You don't know, okay? Because you don't know how life is going to turn out for you. And if things start going in a negative way for you after a while, let's say a year goes by and you say you had a job, but bam, you lose your job a year and a half after you started methadone, you're out of work, things aren't going good, you know, maybe you're going through a divorce with your husband, everything is kind of going downhill for you. Yeah, you're sober and things are good on that end, but do you really think that's the best time for you to get off methadone when things are really fucked up in your world right now? Things are not going as according to plan? No, probably not. But even if things are going absolutely perfect in your world, okay, I got off methadone after 9 years. I had a very smooth sailing detox off methadone. Okay, I won't get into how I got off it. I did talk about this in an earlier video. I don't want to get into it right now, but I'll just say I got off it without any withdrawals whatsoever. It was a very clean-cut process, very easy to get off it. I detoxed myself off it over a period of time, and I had no withdrawals whatsoever. It was amazing. It was couldn't have went any better if I planned it in advance. It was a perfect process, and I was off of the methadone for 6-7 months, give or take. I forget exactly how long I was off, but I will put it to you this way: after several months of being off it, I was in a situation where somebody was shooting up heroin in front of me, and I almost used. Okay, I almost used. Now, if I was on the methadone, I would have been disgusted by it. I would have turned away, walked away from that situation, and been done with it. But off methadone, suddenly, using heroin is not such a bad idea. You know, it's like, yeah, I'll try that. I'll do that. You know, that drive, seeing methadone, seeing heroin for the ugliness that it really is not as reinforced in my brain without the methadone in place. I don't see it as such as the enemy it really is when I don't have methadone in my system. The methadone is what does something to my brain that reiterates to me over and over again, heroin is bad. You don't want to touch the shit. It is bad. It is bad news. It is a killer. It'll kill you left and right, and not just kill you as a person. It kills your life. It kills your spirit. It kills your family. It kills everything in its path. It's a destruction. It's a destructive drug that destroys everything in its pathway. It destroyed everything in my life. Everything that meant the world to me was destroyed by heroin. Okay, and after I got clean, I was left clean, but my life was in pieces. My life was in a million pieces, and I was left to try to figure out how to put my life back together in some sort of manageable order. And it was not easy. Okay, it was not easy. It's still not easy. I feel like a lot of the issues that I'm dealing with now are really issues that I'm dealing with because I was on drugs for a good 14 years, and my coping mechanisms are, all out of whack at times. I get really overwhelmed quite easily, but honestly, I think I've always been that way. I've always been somebody that's kind of high strung and gets really irritable very easily. I mean, I remember when I was younger, before drugs even came into my life, if something upset me, I would lose my mind. I would flip the hell out over it. I lose my patience very quickly. I get very high strung. I, I get anxious, and I go absolutely ape shit over certain things. And it could be something very simple that most people wouldn't think twice about, but to me, it's a big deal. I it's sometimes the littlest things are a big deal to me. I I don't know what to say, man. I'm so worried about this job. I'm so worried about the whole situation. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm doing the best I can. But sometimes I feel like no matter how much I try, my best just isn't good enough. At least for this job, it isn't. I told the manager, I'm doing my best. I don't know what more you expect from me. But if my best isn't good enough, then I don't know what more I can do. I was overwhelmed yesterday. It was a fucking melodramatic situation for me to deal with. I got physically ill. I was vomiting my guts out. The anxiety was so extreme, I can't even begin to tell you. I was ready for a fucking breakdown at that point. I was so overwhelmed. And now I'm overwhelmed with worry. Like, is she gonna think I can't handle this job and she's gonna fire me for it? I don't know what to expect. I'm scared shitless to even go back to work on Wednesday, because am I still gonna have a job? Is this bitch gonna come and complain about me, say I was talking shit about her kids? Because that's all it's gonna take for this bitch to fucking fire me. It's gonna take almost nothing. She's looking for a reason at this point, because she feels like I'm a pain in the ass and I'm more of a headache than it's worth to deal with me. I don't know what to do. And I don't know what other job I can get, because I'm not really qualified for anything. I didn't work for years. I didn't work for over a decade. There was I don't know how many years it was, probably 16 years that I did not work. 16, 17 years, I don't know, 15 years, I forget. But I didn't work. I laid on my back to make money. I don't say that proudly, but that's what I did. That's what I was accustomed to doing. I hated doing it. I would never go back to that again. I was so excited to get off drugs and to have a normal job and live a normal life. But it's not as easy as people think it is. When you've been out of that sense of normalcy for so long, and you live in chaos for so long, to just get back to living a normal life is not an easy transition. I struggle every day to try to be normal. And I don't know what normal means at this point. I just want to be normal. But I don't even know what that means, because normal for me is drama. My life is drama. Yesterday, me losing my mind at this job and having this total meltdown is typical. It's typical for me for this to happen to me, because this is my life. My life is chaos and issues and problems and drama, and I don't mean for it to be that way. I don't anticipate myself being that way. I always go to work with the best of intentions that it's going to be a good shift. Everything is going to be fine. But, things just don't always work out that way. I get overwhelmed. I was by myself in the store, and I got really overwhelmed. I got so freaking overwhelmed by the freaking online orders keep coming in one after another, and I couldn't keep up. I mean, I'm only one person. I'm one person. And I don't deal well with anxiety and a stressful, overwhelming situation. I can't handle it very well. People say, just take a breath and do this, do that. That's easier said than done. I don't know how to calm myself down once I get so overwhelmed, and I'm in that moment of total chaos. I don't know how to calm myself. That's why I'm prescribed medication. The medication calms me down, but I can't do it on my own. Once I'm so worked up and so nuts, I can't even think straight. I just don't want to lose a job before I have another job to replace it. Because I don't want to lose my place to live and stuff. I love where I'm living. I don't want to be on the streets. People just don't understand how hard it is to turn your life around when you've been living in chaos for so many years. Even though I've been clean for almost 13 years, it doesn't come easy for me to just be normal. I don't know what that means to just be normal. It's not easy for me to just be normal. I was never normal. Even as a kid, I came from a very dysfunctional, chaotic, messed up family. My family was really very dysfunctional. The neighborhood that we came from in Chicago, our family was notoriously known in our neighborhood for being really messed up, dysfunctional, and fucking chaotic. And I grew up in that. I grew up in that chaotic environment, day in, day out. Between my mother, my mother's brother, my mother's sister, all three of them were addicts. And my uncle was violent, and he would chase my grandfather around the backyard with a gun one time, and he would throw bricks through the windows. When my mother was sleeping, he punched her in her face and knocked all of her teeth out and stuff. He was nuts. He used to do armed robberies at convenience stores and stuff. The first time he went to prison, he was 17 or 18 years old. He went to prison like 9 or 10 times. He's passed away several years ago of a heroin overdose, but as a kid I was scared shitless of this man. He scared me like shitless. I was so afraid of him because he was such a violent person. He was so scary. And I was scared of my mother because she wasn't violent per se, but when she was high on drugs, it was overwhelming. When I was at my grandparents', my aunt hid me in a closet when my mother came looking to take me, and they would hide me from her so she wouldn't take me, because she would take me to unsafe places, take me to drug houses and stuff, and she just put me in really vulnerable situations. I know she didn't do it intentionally. I know she didn't mean to cause me harm, but she destroyed my childhood. And people wonder why I'm so messed up. I could give you 100 reasons why I'm messed up. I could give you 101 reasons why I'm messed up. It didn't start with me getting on drugs. That's just a part of the puzzle. It started from conception. My mother used drugs when she was pregnant with me. She used PCP. I'm sorry, guys. I did not mean to get so in-depth and start talking about things like this and get so worked up and emotional. I just don't know if I'm ever going to be right. Because, yeah, I'm off drugs, and I'm happy to be off drugs. But my life is just not like the way that I want it to be. This job situation. And I don't know how to make it right. I don't know how to explain to these people that I am messed up and that this is what you get. You get what, you get a person that is a messed up, over-anxious bag of drama. And I know people don't want to deal with that. People don't want to deal with somebody who's got so many problems and is just a complete disaster. And I don't mean to be that way. But that's what I am. I'm a disaster. I walk into a job and I look okay, but underneath it all, it's just a mess. I'm just a mess. And getting off drugs didn't fix the mess that I am. I'm just such a mess. I'm just so... I'm just not right. I'm just really unhappy right now with my life because I hate this job and I'm on the verge of losing it any second, and I'm so scared that if that happens, I don't know what's gonna happen to me. I just want to die right now. I just wish I could be dead. Because I just can't deal with this anymore. I can't deal with the pressures. Life is so stressful. I didn't realize how stressful life is. Life is really stressful. Paying bills, trying to survive and keep your head above water. It is so stressful. And I can't stand it. I can't take it. I knew that, I was going to have responsibilities like rent and paying bills and stuff. I understood that. I was fine with that. I'm okay with that. But when a job is so unpredictable and you're having so many problems with it, and you don't feel secure that your job is stable and that you could lose it at any given time, it's such a stressful situation. I just can't stand this anymore. I just can't stand feeling like this anymore, that every day I'm just waiting for them to give me the axe. I just want to kill myself sometimes. I just want to off myself because I can't stand living this way anymore. I can't stand it. I hate my life. I hate my life every day. Because of this job. That's why I hate my life, not because of anything else. Everything else in my life is good except this job. But if I don't have this job, everything else is going to fall apart. I won't be able to pay my bills. And I'm so scared of losing my place to live. Oh my God. And I spent a lot of money buying all this furniture for my room. And if I had to move out of here, I wouldn't even know what to do with my stuff. I'd have to sell it all or something. And it took me. I spent a lot of money and a lot of time. I invested a lot of effort into furnishing this room. I'm trying so hard to do the best I can right now with my life, with the little means I have. People just don't understand how difficult it is. Guys, I'm gonna end this video now because I'm an absolute mess right now. I didn't mean for this to happen, for me to get so emotionally upset. But this is a good lesson for people who think that getting into sobriety is an answer to all your prayers. It's not. Yeah, I'm sober. And I don't want to use. That's not even an option for me. My life is in turmoil right now with this whole job situation. But the thought of using doesn't even come into play. I don't want to use. That's not even an option. I don't think about that. That's not even a thing that I'm considering. That's not even on the table. Okay, because that's not going to fix my problems. It's only going to intensify my problems and make things a million times worse. I don't want that. That's not what I want. I don't want to use. I don't have the desire to use, even though life sucks right now with this job being what it is. Life sucks having this job. But no matter how bad it sucks, It doesn't suck as bad as if I went back to using again. That would suck a million times worse. Because there's nothing so bad in my life that a drug is ever going to fix or make better. It's only going to make it worse. And just remember that. Whenever you're dealing with life's ups and downs, and right now I'm dealing with a lot of life's downs, there's nothing so bad in your life that you can ever predict that doing a drug of any kind is ever going to make better or improve or do anything in a positive way. It's only going to make whatever your situation is a million times worse. It's only going to magnify what's already happening to you. It's not going to improve your situation in any way, shape, or form. Just make sure you have that idea clear on the front of your head, that no matter how bad things may get in some area of your life, whatever is going on, there's nothing that's so bad that getting high is going to ever fix. It's never going to fix it. It's only going to make it a million times worse. I promise you. So me going out and using is not even a thought in my head. I don't even consider that. That's not even an option for me. And that thought never even came to play. The only reason I'm even mentioning it is because I felt like I went out of my way to mention it, to let you know that no matter how bad I feel right now about the situation with this job and stuff, going and using is not even something that I'm considering doing to make myself feel better, to relieve stress, to relieve tension, to just be numb for a while. I don't even think like that. That's the miracle of methadone. That no matter how bad my life gets in other areas of my life, other than, my recovery is solid, but no matter how bad other areas of my life may get, the methadone keeps me solid in my recovery, so that no matter how bad things get, going and using is never even an option. It's not even on the table as far as things to do to fix my situation. It's not something that I'm going to do. No way, no how, not going to happen. I promise you, there's nothing so bad that a drug is ever going to make better. Well, guys, it was nice spilling my guts to all of you and crying my eyes out and reminding myself just how worried I am about this situation. Because after talking about it the way that I did, it just reiterated how unstable how unstable this job is, and how they could cut the cord at any time, and I could be on my ass flat and without a job and wondering what the hell I'm going to do, how the hell I'm going to survive. Pray for me, please. Pray for me that things get better, because I don't know what else to do at this point. So I'm going to end this now. Talk to you later. Bye.